the biggest advantage AI has given is in policy making. There seems to be a little misconception about this and a lot of talk going around about the state's debt. But let me clarify. If I were if I were to comment on Gujarat as a balance sheet of Gujarat as I would on a balance sheet of any company, I think Gujarat has very strong balance sheet because it has less debt, more assets, and also the assets not only in terms of physical assets but also human resources, which normally are not seen in a balance sheet. But Gujarat's human resources, be it the political class, be it the administrative officers, be it the entrepreneurs, everyone is more dynamic than people in most of the other states, I would say. And I may be biased, but I am sure I am right.
Welcome to the Secretariat. Today we have with us Mr. Yamal Vyas, who's the chairman of Gujarat's 4th State Finance Commission. It's nice to have you here today, sir.
Thank you.
So as we proceed with the interview, would you like to explore a little bit about the objectives as well as the roles, the everyday duties of the State's Finance Commission?
Yeah. The State Finance Commission is a recent phenomenon after 1992. And after the constitutional amendment of 1992, this has become a necessity for every state. And the State Finance Commission primarily studies and recommends on how these tax revenues of the government, state government, should be distributed among the local self-government bodies. When we talk of local self-government bodies, it includes the Gram Panchayats, which are about 15,000 in Gujarat, the Taluka Panchayats, the district panchayats, the municipalities, Nagarpalika as we call them, and the Mahanagarpalika, municipal corporation. All these, what kind of resources they will get, what kind of share they will get from the state government revenues, that is recommended by each state finance commission for the next 5 years.
I see. And so as the chairman, could we dive a little bit deeper into your responsibilities with the Finance Commission?
This is a responsibility which is full-time, and we have got a full-time member secretary also. Now we will be having more members also. We can have a maximum of 3 members. They are yet to be appointed. But I think as chairman, basically what I have to do is to collect data. That is the biggest challenge for every state finance commission. We have been reading reports, we have been interacting. There was a national workshop of all state finance commission chairmen in November last year, where the the Central Finance Commission chairman and all members were also present. And there were a lot of discussions throughout the day for one full day. And what we could see was that collection of data from the local self-government bodies is a very big challenge. And unless we have proper data, which is analyzed, dissected, we would, as Finance Commission, may not be able to recommend to our satisfaction. So that is our biggest challenge, and also the major work that we have to do over the next few years.
And sir, according to you, what are these key financial policies over the years with such a huge experience that you bring to the table that have shaped Gujarat's economic landscape?
Yeah. Gujarat has always been an industrialized state. The Gujaratis have a lot of entrepreneurial ability, which has always been evident even before the state of Gujarat was formed in 1960. Recently, if we talk of the last 25 years, there have been a lot of technological changes and global changes which have changed the whole world, and India is no exception, and Gujarat cannot be an exception. But we have been very fortunate that the leadership during the last 25 years has been very, very dynamic, has been always alert to changes which are already coming and which are already there, and the changes that are likely to come up. So the industrial policy has also been tuned in anticipation of what will happen in the future. For example, I will give you the latest example. The latest trend in the world is semiconductor chips. Now, Gujarat is the first state in the country which has actually gone in all out in developing the semiconductor industry, and global leaders also, the Indian leaders in IT sector, they are convinced that Gujarat is the place to go. and a lot of change developments are taking place, which we see in the media also. And I am sure that starting with the textile industry in the 60s and 70s, then 80s, this was uh, chemicals and engineering. Then 90s, the world was started changing, and there was software, BPO, KPO, those kind of activities. Every change in the trend, the Gujarat has been at the forefront. And after 2010, when the technology has taken leaps, Gujarat has always been keeping tune with it. And today, AI is the latest instrument that we have for development and for growth. And I am sure that Gujarat is very well equipped. The IT policy, which was declared a couple of years back, it is very relevant even today, in spite of major changes having taken place in the last 1 year. I am sure that Gujarat will be leading the state, all other states in AI and semiconductors over the next few years.
Mhm. And so, sir, at the moment, for example, there are so many different industries which require a lot of budget allocations, be it infrastructure, health, or education. Do you use AI at the moment, or if not, what are the steps that you partake in that helps in the budget allocation in these different industries, and what decides the priority of those?
Fortunately, government of Gujarat is very alert on this. The chief minister himself and his team and the officials, they are all very well aware that AI can be used for the social good also, and the social sectors that you mentioned, especially education and healthcare. Those are the areas where relevant data, analyzed data, and timely data are the base on which better policies can be created. Because when I remember in the late 90s, the government used to get data after a lag of 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, certain areas. Now it's practically online. So that makes a lot of difference. And as you see, the government, central government comes out with tax collection. 15th is the March would be the date of last date of paying advance tax, and 16th the government comes up with the exact data how much tax was collected. So this never used to happen in the past. So all this is a technology, and especially AI, which then tells us that this so many people have done so much that a lot of people take advantage of social schemes. But the exact data which is available for the there is a CM dashboard at the Chief Minister's office, which shows everything updated almost real time. So that makes that policy making very easy.
And so, sir, as these new improvements we see with time, do you forecast any new upcoming policy shifts that industry should be aware of?
Uh, yeah, because as industries, some industries gain relevance and importance, some industries lose relevance also. There is a continuous process of growth. So those industries which are likely to face some problems, the government should also be aware. It is not always that the our industry starts facing problems and they come to the government. I mean, now the situation globally is so fluid that duties, import duties are the biggest topic of discussions these days. Now, uh, when some change is likely to take place, we really don't know how this duty structure will pan out over the next few weeks. So when this something like this is happening, the government also should be ready, and their AI and relevant data makes a lot of difference. Because then we can project that if the duty change is this much, then the government can do this. If it changes by this much, then the government has to take a different view. So I think the biggest advantage AI has given is in policy making.
And so, sir, how do you ensure that there is an equitable distribution of financial resources across different sectors? And so, what are the finance commission's different outlooks when it comes to assessing Gujarat's unit economics across these different areas and sectors?
Well, yes, as I was mentioning earlier, some sectors have seen growth overtaking them. For example, textiles. Now, textiles is not the fancy sector it once was. It was that is the change. Ceramics also. Ceramics was Gujarat's mainstay. Where all units in ceramic units were doing phenomenally well. Then cost considerations and input costs and all, they have probably made life little difficult today. But in spite of that, these industries have a very steady demand. So it's not that demand for clothes is dying. It's not that demand for ceramics is not going, because when the housing is booming like this, there is affordable housing, there are luxury houses, there are residential, there are commercial properties, industries coming up. So demand for ceramic products is also not going to go. It's only going to grow. They have structural problems. Various sectors have, and even sectors like ceramic and textiles and others, which are not fancied today. But primarily it is more perception than reality. Textiles are also the efficient units are doing well. So the government needs to ensure that efficient units survive and grow. And survival of the fittest, the Darwin's law, will also has ensured over the years, and the government has also made it easier for people. Now the central government has worked very hard over the last 11 years to ensure that if my business is not working, I should exit and I should close down that business without any hindrance. So that exit policy is also now very clear, very easy. So all this ease of doing business, it would include 100 different things, and the government is working on each of them at different levels. But as you mentioned, the unit costs and all, yes, it is imperative for any industry to be competitive. So if China is the biggest problem for everyone, that they sell goods much cheaper than Indian products because of various reasons, and their government subsidizes. It's not being a democracy, we don't have the real picture also. But the point is that we follow, our units follow proper labor laws, they pay the labor properly, they pay all the energy costs properly, and then they pay a little higher interest, which is now coming down, but still they pay higher interest than Chinese people or other industries in other countries, same units. They obviously they are at a cost disadvantage. But that is why I said that the government also encourages efficiency, and it is doing its utmost to help them become competitive. Lesser interest, subsidized interest rates for small units. Lot of things, lot of benefits are being given, tax benefits and all, which helps them stand on their feet and compete with the global producers. And that is working in sectors like textiles, ready-mades, garments, and ceramics, to mention a few.
I see. And sir, out of all of these industries, what do you find to be the most financially sustainable ones?
Well, most of these industries are sustainable, but yes, the rate of growth would be different. Software used to grow at a very fast rate. Now there are some barriers. AI is growing fast. Semiconductors are growing the fastest. But apart from that, automobiles, auto ancillaries. Gujarat is very strong in auto ancillaries. Auto ancillaries are doing really well. You selling about 40 lakh passenger cars every year. So it's a huge number, which was unimaginable 25 years back. So obviously there is replacement demand, there is OEM demand for ancillaries, for all small parts of each car, each truck which is being produced. So demand is growing. India has a very, I think we have got good tailwinds that way, and that is helping the smaller units grow bigger. And the government is doing its bit to help them sustain and help them grow. So our role as Finance Commission is to ensure that the right kind of units, the right kind of industry sectors get the right kind of support from the government. The government gives priority to obviously the standard of living and the well-being of the citizens first. And to do that, the government needs resources. Now, government doesn't do its own business. It needs resources through tax. So, that balancing of exercise is a continuous process where more facilities are given to people, better infrastructure is created, and at the same time, the people are not burdened with too much of taxes. So, that balance becomes easier when they have proper data. So, over the years, that government working has benefited due to that.
And so, sir, at the moment, what are these key industries that receive the most budget allocation right now?
Obviously, health, education, panchayats. These are the because that is where the bulk of the population is directly affected. people who were singing praises of social security in the US. Now, this the poorest of the poor gets the similar facilities, 5-10 lakhs of treatment for his sickness. So, that is the social security cover that the government intends to provide to everyone. Similarly, better education, as you must be knowing, that right to education limit for the poor has been raised to 50,000 rupees per month for the parents' income. Now, that also will make poor middle class children learn the best things in the best of schools. So, all these barriers which were there, creating inequalities in the society, they are slowly being removed.
And so, sir, on our road to Viksit Bharat 2047, we see a lot of emerging sectors that require a lot of budget. For example, the renewable energy sector or the electrical vehicles and whatnot. How do you ensure, as the Financial Commission, that timely and measurable budget is allocated to these emerging industries?
Our job is more of allocation part, and allocation what we look at is the requirement of the villages basically and the small cities, which is essentially our focus. And there we are on a continuous lookout. We are studying continuously the developments that are taking place at the village and the Nagar Palika level, because those are the places from where the real feedback also comes, and we get to know, and then we suggest to the government policy changes or whatever other requirements are there.
And so, sir, would there be any key sectors in these rural and Nagar
Nagar
Palika, as you said?
Palikas.
So, sir, would there be any these key sectors in rural places as well as the Nagar Palikas that the allocation part of the Financial Commission looks out for very predictably?
Yeah. See, Gujarat is the most urbanized state in the country. 42% of our people live in urban areas, and those urban areas are growing. As you must have experienced, if you live in Ahmedabad, then you will have known that how Ahmedabad is growing over the years. Of course, we have seen huge growth, but you might also have seen a very fast development in the last 10 years. Similarly, even the smaller, for example, 9 Nagar Palikas, which had become pretty large, now have been converted into municipal corporations. There were only 8 earlier, now we have 9 more. So, they are Anand, Mehsana, they are all municipal corporations now, which when they become a municipal corporation, they get lot of more infrastructure development resources. Now, time will come when a few more Nagar Palikas will be, for example, recently in this current session of assembly, the government has passed a resolution that about 60 Nagar Palikas have been upgraded. There are categories of Nagar Palikas, A, B, C, D, depending on the various parameters. So, 60 Nagar Palikas have been upgraded from D to C, C to B, B to A, and that will mean more growth and coverage of more area, because what happens is that when Nagar Palika becomes a municipal corporation, a certain more area is covered. Now, that may not have the necessary infrastructure. So, when a decision is taken to convert a Nagar Palika into a Mahanagar Palika, obviously lot of things have to be actually studied, and which has already happened. Now, the government will need resources. So, for that the financial part will come in, where we will also be able to provide some inputs.
I see. And sir, as we have finite resources and there's a lot of Nagar Palikas who begin to develop into Mahanagar Palikas and whatnot, does it mean that there is less growth in terms of budget allocation to bigger cities like Ahmedabad?
Not really. Actually, you see, Ahmedabad is a very good example of growth. What has happened is that there has always been a complaint and actual reality that the small Nagar Palikas and the Gram Panchayat, they have not been able to collect rightfully the taxes that they should, for various reasons. Plus, the rate of taxes have also not been. Ahmedabad is the first city, probably in India, I think yes, in India, to have a very transparent and very dynamic tax calculation system for property. Then this was done not today, it was done in the early 2000s. That is, based on Ahmedabad model, lot of other cities have implemented that. So, with inflation, with growth, the tax burden slowly increases, which no one is reluctant to pay. Because if my tax today is 4,000 rupees and after 3 years it becomes 4,200, I am not going to mind. But the corporation gets more resources. Secondly, Non-tax income is something where all the nagarpalikas, gram panchayats and the municipal corporations are lacking. Because for example, in most of the nagarpalikas, issue of birth or a death certificate, the charges are maybe 1 rupee, 2 rupees, 3 rupees. Now that is not relevant today, because when a bottle of water costs 20 rupees and something like this, which is a lifetime asset, if that is issued, the idea is to have a prompt system where the certificates are issued promptly, and I don't think people will mind paying 10 rupees instead of 5. So that rationalization and all is a big challenge which we are taking up.
And sir, in such metropolitan cities, do public-private partnerships as well as establishments of special economic zones aid in this financial stability?
A public-private partnership, yes, but it is probably not a foolproof model. So the government is always on the lookout for better models, and essentially involving people, private sector, in infrastructure projects is always a good thing, and the government is also doing that. But special economic zones also, GIFT City is a prime example, that it is a work in progress, but I am sure over the years it is going to be compete with New York and London, Singapore and Boston. I am sure of that, and that is the direction we are taking. There are a lot of constraints, growth constraints, but it is happening. So yes, special economic zones are also critical, and also public-private partnership.
Sir, as you explained, there are a lot of complex threads to pull to be able to have an effective financial governance model. So, sir, according to you, what are these most crucial factors to have effective financial governance?
One is to ensure that the benefits of all schemes, I am talking of benefit schemes, the social sector, reach the actual targeted person, because that was a major problem over the first 50 years of independence, and that was the reason why the kind of growth that we should have made was not made. So Prime Minister has taken due care, and technology has also been helpful. So now in direct benefit transfers and all other things, ensure that the beneficiaries get their rightful benefits directly without any intermediaries, and that has made a huge difference, because it becomes easier for the government when they know that the beneficiaries are going to the money is going to the beneficiary directly. And so when the government increases the budget for some 5 lakhs to 10 lakh rupees, for example, in the healthcare, the government is confident that one, there is better data available, secondly, it goes directly to the recipient, and because of that, better utilization of resources is possible. So when for example, previously there used to be, I mean, politically we say 85%, a former prime minister had said that when I send 1 rupee from Delhi, 15 paisa reaches the beneficiary. But we don't even get into that. There was a lot of leakage. That leakage has stopped. So that, and the budget size, state budget is now 3 lakh, almost 4 lakh crore rupees, which was 1/4 20 years back.
Yes.
So it is growing very fast, even if you take into account inflation, and that money is going to the right people.
So, sir, during your time with the Finance Commission, are there any particular initiatives that you are the most proud of? Sir? And sir, as you mentioned, the state budget debt being close to 4 lakh crore rupees, whereas the EMI per month we pay for the interest of that is 2,162 crore rupees. Sir, how do you balance that with the kind of growth that we need to see in different parts of the state?
Yeah, there seems to be a little misconception about this, and a lot of talk going around about the state's debt. But let me clarify that the Reserve Bank of India and Government of India had decided almost 20 years back that what are the reasonable, what are the prudent debt levels that a state should have, and that is related to the state GDP as GDP. That the state GDP, the debt should be not more than 30% of the state GDP according to Reserve Bank's policy. Up to 30% if the government borrows, then it is good enough, that is required for growth, because growth cannot come without borrowings. Now, Gujarat is very well placed in the sense that our ratio of debt to state GDP is almost 14 point some. 89% or something. So less than 15%, which is less than half of the permitted debt.
Hmm.
For Gujarat, repaying the debt and servicing that debt is not a major issue. There are other states, I will not name the states, where this is a major issue, because interest takes up almost half of their income, where Gujarat is relatively very strong. In fact, in absolute terms also it is very strong financially.
So, sir, do you think the Finance Commission has any strategies or any need to balance their infrastructure investments in order to have less spending to save the budget, the debt?
Uh, well, yes, we do have a few ideas, but basically to grow the rural infrastructure, which is a key, and the government is also very much focused on that. What we can help the government in is collect relevant data, see where more money is required, what can be more effective in growing the infrastructure, which will last for 40, 50, 60 years.
Mhm.
So, that is our main objective today, uh, that find out ways through which the government money spent on infrastructure, especially rural infrastructure, it goes a long way.
Mhm. And so, sir, what is the current Finance Commission's outlook? How do you forecast how the state's different nodal places, for example, the Nagar Palikas, the rural places, as well as the metropolitan cities, how they will look like in terms of growth in the next 10 years?
Um, Essentially, I think yeah, infrastructure is such an issue. It is a continuous growth. So, I mean, 20 years back, no one would have imagined that this kind of metro and BRTS and other facilities, railway stations will be there.
Hmm.
So, maybe I don't have a very strong imagination, so I cannot imagine what will happen 10 years from now. But yes, what will happen is that people's life will become simpler. Today, we have parking problems in major cities. We have other kinds of problems in the rural areas. Now, those problems need long term solutions, and then those long term solutions we are working on.
I see. And sir, are any of these problems particularly close to you personally that you would like to see the end of them?
Well, as I mentioned, traffic is something which comes to top of mind, because every day everyone wastes a lot of time in traffic.
Mhm.
So, I mean, the government is also equally aware of that. The Home Minister has been working continuously on this, and I am sure that there will be a long term solution, especially in cities like Ahmedabad, Baroda, Rajkot, Surat.
So, sir, with these shifts in urbanization that we see, that more and more rural parts seem to be converted into municipal corporations and metropolitan cities, we see a diminishing of farmlands happening, through which there might arise a need in the future where we might have to import our food grains from outside. So, do we have any particular strategies to address such a change if it might happen?
Yeah. Urbanization is a part of development, so you cannot stop that. You only have to encourage that. So, what the government can do and is doing is that instead of the major cities growing only horizontally, they are also growing vertically now. As you must be aware, for a long time, maybe 3 decades, the maximum permissible height of a residential buildings was 10 floors. Now that suddenly that has been changed. Now you can have 35-story buildings also. So that is the one way in which, like, cities like Bombay have grown. But that because the land was available in plenty, other cities have not really thought about it and not really seriously taken up. Now Ahmedabad has grown very fast. So the government has now, the major cities in Gujarat also have permission to grow vertically, which makes a big difference in one way. Secondly, that is one way of doing it. Secondly, as you said, yes, agricultural land might be going down, because some farms on the outskirts get covered into commercial land or residential houses. But at the same time, that agriculture, the technology of agriculture, the efficiency of agriculture production is growing. And touch wood, till today, India has been growing great surplus for even staple food, other things, horticulture, everything. We had a problem, we do have a problem of actually transportation and wastage during transportation and all, which the government is taking care through different policies, the central government and the state government. Agriculture production, no new technologies are coming up, drip irrigation and all, which saves water also. So, a lot of things are being developed to improve the agriculture production also, and vertical growth of cities. All these things together will probably see to it that at least in our lifetime we will not have a food shortage in India.
I see. Sir, given the rise of the startup ecosystem in India, do we see Gujarat position itself as a startup hub? And how does the Financial Commission have its responsibilities tied to the startup ecosystem in Gujarat?
Startup ecosystem in India has been certainly very active over the last 5 years, especially from COVID period. Gujarat initially was it was felt that it is falling behind. When you talk of startup, it's Hyderabad and it's Bangalore. That was the general impression. Now, government of Gujarat has one institution called iHub, which is a government institution but very dynamic and quite unlike a normal government office. If you visit it sometimes, probably you will be very happy to know. It has got a very dynamic team also. And in Gujarat also, a lot of startups are now being registered. I don't have the exact number, but large number of startups are being registered and nurtured. The government pays them initially some money, and the government has been, Gujarat government has been much more liberal in promoting startups in financial terms over the last 2-3 years. Now, in addition to that, what has happened is that as Finance Commission, as you said, what we have to look at is that all the startups cannot come up in Ahmedabad, Baroda, Rajkot and Surat. There are so many small entrepreneurs somewhere in Banaskantha district or somewhere in Surat district where they have the skill, they have the ability, they have a good product or a service. Those people need to, they may probably not be willing to move to a city just for trying, because a lot of startups fail. So, to ensure that they do their own thing, they set up their own startup in the rural areas, in the semi-urban area. That is the area where we are also studying in detail, and we will be able to suggest to the government how these can also be done.
So let's get into a little bit about your vast experience in the chartered accountant space, be it auditing, be it corporate finance or regulatory affairs. Sir, according to you, what do you think are the key reforms or new initiatives that India could take up to strengthen the role of chartered accountants in the economy?
Yeah. Chartered accountancy profession by itself has grown very rapidly. There were about 15 years back, there were 1.5 lakh chartered accountants in India, 2008-9. Today we have about 4.5 lakh. So that number has suddenly grown 3 times, and there is still demand. Everyone is getting good work, whether it is employment or self-employment. And the profession is now attained a maturity level where the government is also taking it very seriously. And in terms of policy inputs, our Commerce Ministry is also a chartered accountant, Union Commerce Minister. And the chartered accountants are in good positions in the government, in administration. There are quite a few chartered accountant IAS officers. So, they, because of their financial background, because of the training that they have got, they are able to understand complex financial issues very well. And even we have got CA firms which are helping the government on policy, because policy is something which the government is continuously learning and continuously changing. So, that evolution process can be helped when there are sector experts helping the government. And so, chartered accountant profession has also grown as business support system, which was always there, helping the individuals, the small units, the businesses, the companies. And in addition to that, now at a certain level, the chartered accountant community and Institute of Chartered Accountants also, they are helping the government at policy making level. They are helping the state governments in various other issues. For example, I will tell you that the panchayat accounting, there now you will be surprised that in Gujarat, all the gram panchayats, 15,000 of them, they have double entry bookkeeping system, which is very advanced, and that is being undertaken for the last 15 years by firms of chartered accountants, and which is working very well. And so, as Finance Commission of Gujarat, we are very happy that we get relevant data at the right time, and this is a process which has been going on for the last 15 years.
Sir, as you mentioned, the evolving financial landscape, it also sees an integration of a lot of automation with the use of AI, be it financial reporting or auditing. What are your views for chartered accountants to stay relevant with these changing trends?
Yeah, it's a big challenge, in fact, because people in their chartered accountants in their 40s, late 40s and upward, they have an existential problem, and a lot of them are getting a little disturbed also, because the world is changing faster than they can. But a lot of people have adapted. Almost I would say, because I am in that age group, I know that about 80% of the people have adapted to the rising star. But yes, the younger generation is much faster. They have learnt it the same way. When we were learning to be chartered accountants, there were only books, no guides, no classes, no nothing. And today now they have the latest AI tools which help them learn everything they want. The institute is also being very dynamic, and they are also changing the syllabus very frequently now. So, the new generation of chartered accountants is well equipped to face the world. The elderly, I would say, for the first 1 lakh chartered accountants who would be in the age group I mentioned, they are adapting, and because of their vast experience of this changing scenario also, they are important to the clients, to the industries, and also to the government, and they are being used, their services are being used by various companies at that level, and I am sure that the overall profession of chartered accountants will grow much faster than it has in the last 50 years.
Would you like to conclude our vision with your personal vision for Gujarat's financial future?
Yeah. Gujarat has been at the forefront of industrial development, economic growth, and I would like to see that over the next 10 years, Gujarat becomes the #1 state in all parameters of economic growth, social sector growth, and becomes an example for the other states to follow in the next 10 years. Well, it's early days. It has only been 6 months, but yes, hopefully we meet again towards the end of my tenure. I'll be able to tell you a lot of things. I hope to do. We have a lot of ideas, and we are working on it. My team is also very actively working on that. Hopefully, we should be able to do something which people will remember.
I see. So thank you for such a big conversation. We go from different sectors that the Finance Commission allocates budget to a lot of emerging trends. And you gave a lot of good insights about different areas that need financial considerations and that already have a lot of complex threads pulling at each other.
Oh, yes.
So thank you so much for having an insightful
Thank you.
conversation with the Secretariat.
Thank you.